Hi, my friends. Dean here with Escape to Gaming. Today is on a Thursday. One more day till the new Wolfenstein Colossus 2 comes out. I'm really excited. Received a call last night from my local manager at my GameStops. Dean, if you want to, you can queue up to buy your game. You know, at I think 6 o'clock at night, and then at 9 o'clock to midnight, we'll be giving away the pre-orders. And I'm just not up to a long drive across town and staying up, standing in line for hours in the cold. So I'm going to wait and pick mine up on Friday morning. But one of the things that I thought about doing this rant kind of last minute, and this comes off the tail end of my last big hour-long rant on my concern over single-player games pretty much dying out or being a thing of the past in time. Not that they are now, but sometimes you get the impression it's going that way. Very poor sales. With a new Prey game, Dishonored 2, Outlast 2. You've got many games that the first ones did very well, and the sales of these new ones are like half or 25% in some cases. The Evil Within 2 is like literally a quarter of the sales of the first one. Again, over time, more people will be buying that game, and as the price drops, I'm sure more people will jump on board, but the figures don't look good. Even the first Metro game did very, very well, but then Metro Last Light came out and sold again, half or less of what the first one did. So you're seeing a pattern. Now sometimes, these devs screw themselves by coming out with a game the very next year. It doesn't give people enough time to really think about it. And what I like about Machine Games and what they've done with this Wolfenstein game is they came out with the new order. And then not long after, they pretty much for next to nothing gave you this nice expansion pack, which is really good. Almost makes you wonder if it was part of the original game. But either way, you get tremendous value. So yes, there's no multiplayer. There's no other expansions or DLC packs are coming into it. You can't play it in co-op or anything like that. But it's one of the last developers yet that pretty much gives their middle finger to multiplayer and what everyone else wants and said, yeah, that's all well and fine. We don't have any qualms with those things, but we are going to focus on making a quality, linear, first-person, single-player game, first-person shooter. And that's what they did. That's why I reviewed this game passionately. I did an impressions of this one. I did the 2009 Wolfenstein, did a wonderful review of that, years later. But still, it's when I think about it, and I thought about this after my last rant. I said the problem is not with single-player games dying per se, as it is the linear story-based ones, which we saw so many of back at the 6th and 7th generation, or even 5th generation. And it's just, the landscape is changing. Now it's all about leveling. I mean, I got 143 hours or more in Fallout 4, and I'm at a really high level because I focused on leveling up hot and heavy, really manipulating that perk system to really get the maximum amount of, being able to modify my guns the way I like and to have the extra abilities to do extra damage. So I've almost made the game too easy. It literally is why I stopped playing it, because I level up so much. So today it's all about leveling up. Even if you're playing a single player game like Fallout 4, it's all about, well, I'm at level 20 or I'm at level 120, and it's almost like a status thing to say where you're at in the game. So the games are giving you a lot of value as far as how many hours you can sink into them. Where I've got maybe 24 hours or 25 hours in the new order because I took my time to look for collectibles and really enjoy the process. I was in a speed race to get through the game. This one I've yet to finish. I'm anxious to finish this one, and I've had a lot of fun with it so far. But this is the most exciting day for me tomorrow. This will more than likely be my game of the year for 2017 because it's a return to the purity of quality, narrative-based, story-driven, good linear single-player games that we just don't see that many of. So if you want to see more of that, I suggest you buy a game like this new Wolfenstein that's coming out, or any of these single-player games. If you want to see more of them, invest the money and buy. We can't naturally go nuts and buy every new game that comes out, but make it a point to at least a couple games a year. Focus on buying the ones maybe right at launch, whether you pre-order them or you buy them after the fact. but support your favorite developers that are making the games that you like. We certainly have so many great multiplayer games. This Destiny 2 will take off, like gangbusters. This new Overwatch game, which again, those games don't hold any interest for me personally, but I see the attraction, and it's good to see that I have friends that like online gaming, that there's something for them. There's pretty much something for everyone out there, and that's a good thing. But I'm really concerned about the longevity. And it's funny, after I talked about this Visceral Games, putting the axe on this new Star Wars gaming, Amy, I forget her name, not Hemingway, but it's something like that, Hennings or whatever her name is, apparently had worked on the wonderful Uncharted games. I don't know if she was one of the lead writers on that or developers or what, but she had her hand in that. So there's been rumors that, EA found out the game wasn't very good, so that's why they shit-canned it. So naturally they're going to spin that story because they have to, justify their reasonings for shutting down that studio and kind of moving people around. Apparently there's some other studio that supposedly will pick up that game where it left off. But let's face it, they're going to put multiplayer. It'll probably be a big open world game. They'll probably gut that game, and it's sad. I wouldn't be surprised if it actually was shaping up to be a solid single-player linear experience, and they shit-canned it. So this is kind of like a compliment to my last long rant. I'll try to make this one shorter. I've been playing a lot of Xbox 360 games lately. I started playing this about a month and a half ago, Time Shift. I was playing this a year ago, and I resumed my play of it. A wonderful single-player linear game. This is when so many of these games came out. And, many of us have played these and enjoyed them and bought and sold them and gone on to the next thing. Some of us take the time to return to them and even play them on a harder level. I bought this, I bought this at launch when I first bought my Xbox 360. I remember buying Turning Point. Didn't like it then because compared to like Call of Duty 2 and 3, which I had played at the time, I thought it was very poor control-wise. But I'm going to give it a chance. I only paid $1 for it. So I bought the game again. I'm several levels into this, maybe 4 or 5 levels in, and it actually is it's a competent game. It has some wonderful set-piece moments. But the thing that I like the most about it is, poor as it is graphically, and the controls are very awkward. It needs a lot of refinement, certainly, but it's a nice linear story-based game, and I like that. It's like a ride at Disneyland, where you're on like a AAA ride or attraction, whether it's Pirates of the Caribbean or your favorite log ride, or Thunder Mountain. I can't remember all the names of the rides there. It's been a while since I've been at Disneyland, but it's the same thing. You go there and it's like you're in for a good time. We see a lot of that with the Call of Duty games, which I got this recently. And again, I played this and beat this. All of the Modern Warfare 1, 2, and 3 back-to-back over like a week. And what I like about them is that they're good linear story-based games with great characters, character development, wonderful set-piece moments. They try to, mix it up with different types of on-rail sections and FPS sections and gimmicks and robots. And, you had dogs in Call of Duty Ghost, a dog that you can go through the eyes of a dog, in the stealth mode and everything, which is pretty cool. But they're linear games, and that's why I never miss these games. I haven't been crazy about some of the sci-fi, more modern Call of Duty games, but up until Ghost, I bought and played every single Call of Duty console game that I could get my hands on. The same with Battlefield, because I like that linear story-based game that is such a bad word today, sadly. I've been playing Bloodstone 007. My friend Ian did a playthrough of this, and God, I've had this game for years in my collection, and it looked so good. It was so appealing and enticing. Ian's gameplay of this. I put this in, and I'm quite a ways, maybe 25% of the ways into this. This is a great game, very linear. Some people like it, some people don't. The graphics are kind of just very plain looking. It's a very kind of an average looking game overall graphically, but it's a very competent game, and I really enjoy the story. It's kind of like a new James Bond story or movie, and it's enjoyable. It's a nice kind of a AAA ride. The driving sections are quite enjoyable, very polished, and it's a lot of fun. And this is the one I'm playing the most right now, is this Terminator Salvation. And it's so good. I'm shocked that I stayed away from this, but again, it's a great linear experience. It's in the Terminator universe, where you're kind of fighting in that war against the machines that you heard so much about in the very first and second Terminator, and it's a beautiful thing. I love this. I'm shocked that I never gave this a chance before. And it's like you can kind of close your eyes and you sink back into that universe of being a Terminator, or playing as James Bond, or playing, as a soldier, in Call of Duty. It's a linear story where you just kind of let go and suspend your disbelief, and you're along for the ride. Yes, a lot of the games today have a lot of hand-holding, and some of them are almost too much of a linear cinematic experience with lots of quick-time events laced into them. They're almost too simplistic and a little bit too easy to beat. But still, there's something to be said for that. Now, when I mentioned the EA Visceral thing, I never mentioned the Dead Space. I've never played the Dead Space games. I'm not really into horror games per se. I have some, and I have played some. I like to me, Manhunt's my favorite, horror-style game. Some people wouldn't consider that horror, but to me it's terrifying, the concept of it, being hunted, by your fellow man and trying to survive the evening. I think that's a pretty interesting premise. So even though I have Alien Isolation, I've never played. I'm just too high strung. I probably have a core and a massive heart attack playing a game like that. But I bought that game, even that game at launch, because I wanted to support the devs that are making those kind of games we don't see that many of. And I love it. Story. This is a good story, and Grand Theft Auto 5 and Red Dead Redemption. I'm hoping the new one is going to be more of the same. I don't mind the open world, but just give me an offline single-player adventure. And then if there's side quests and hunting and stagecoach racing and all that, it's fine. That's wonderful. But this is the future of gaming. As I see it now, it's all open world. So yes, there's a story, and Rockstar is really good at that fine balance of having a narrative, story-driven game combined with the vastness and the options of having the agency of being in an open world and doing what you want to do, which is a wonderful thing. And believe me, I love open world games, and I think many of them are here to stay. I just watched a thing on this new Shadow of War. It's like the Shadow of Mordor sequel, apparently. And it looks like a massive game you can sink, dozens of hours into. But my God, it's like visual bombardment. There's so much hand-holding and prompts right in the middle of something. All of a sudden, you're prompted to do something else. And I don't know that that game even interests me now. It looks like they're trying to introduce too much. Of course, there's microtransactions and that. You can see that that's the future they're going to go after. Kind of like these new phone games. Now I got a new Samsung Galaxy S8 phone, and I'm doing it because I want to resume my driving vlogs and stuff. I've had a couple of friends that say, Dean, you can play some really good, Android games on that. So I'm kind of looking at some of the games. There's one that's like Super Sprint, kind of a Reckless Racing 3. Looks really good. I might get like 1 or 2 games for that. So if I'm bored at my mother-in-law's at Christmas, I can sit there and play a game or something for a little bit. But I'm seeing, though, even studying those games, whether they're online or offline, they're laced with massive microtransactions, and I never really noticed that before until now that I've got a smartphone capable of playing some of those games, and I've been watching a lot of reviews of them, and I'm like, my God, I see that this is a direction that regular gaming could easily go in, where they're just pushing. The game itself is $40 or $60 to get you in the door, and then they got just a ton of shit that they can sell you. And so, the open world games are fine, but it's not my thing. Like Mafia 2 is another good example. A really good, very good narrative story, wonderful characters, some of the best cutscenes I've ever seen in a game. Wonderful. It makes you feel like you're in that kind of a Goodfellas, universe of story. And it's somewhat open world, and the same thing with LA Noire, but the problem is with LA Noire as well, is that there's not enough activities, like, kind of like GTA 5, we can go bowling and do this. It'd be kind of neat if you could have gone back in the late 40s on LA Noire, let's say, or even this game, and gone in and done a lot of side activities, going to see a show or a theater, going to, bowling or miniature golfing. There's a lot of those things that we've kind of gotten spoiled with Grand Theft Auto 5 that they didn't have. So I think that was a big disappointment factor for a lot of people when LA Noire came out, or even this game. And so Mafia 3, when it came out, they went overboard trying to give people everything they bitched about and whined about that they didn't get in this. And they kind of went too far in the other direction. So now you got a game that's overly repetitive, which to me is code word for people choosing to be bored. The very nature of video games is repetitive. Life is repetitive. You get up in the morning, you brush your teeth, you get ready for work, you go out the door, you go to the same place to get your cup of coffee. I mean, life is repetitive in general. So repetitive is a code for being bored in my mind. And I don't see the repetitive nature in games like Mad Max. I mean, I see that from a perspective, but I don't feel it myself. There's enough variance within the game that, yeah, you'll see commonalities and certainly notice things that are very similar to other levels or, mini bosses or whatever. It's like some of the bosses that you'd fight in Mad Max, but overall they try to break up the different camps and environments and introducing new enemy types and new upgrades for Max or his, the magnum opus, the car and everything. They kind of kept it fresh. I think that's why that game did well, because it was so unusual. But we're getting so many of these Batman Arkham clones and big open world games now that I think that that's kind of the future. And I think that we're not going to see too many of these older ones. And again, I mentioned this game. A lot of people hate this. But this is a good linear game. It has some open environments. You can kind of pick and choose the path you want to take. But a good linear game for what it is. Now, as much as I like Red Dead Redemption, I far liked Max Payne 3 a hell of a lot more. I've only got like one level to finish this game. I got stuck on it. I kept dying over and over and kind of rage quit it one day. It's a tough game, but so fun. This game is so good. I'd love to see Rockstar have a remastered 4K version of this, like what they're doing with L.A. Noire. This is a fantastic game. This is what I want to see more of. I love the story in this. I can identify with the older Max Payne character in this. This is so good, and many of my friends love this game too for the same reasons. Spec Ops: The Line, we'll never see. Their studio recently said, yeah, you'll never see another Spec Ops: The Line again. Something that they tried, and the sales were marginal at best. Didn't do great, but it's a masterpiece. This is one of probably the top 10 best stories I've ever seen, narratives in a game. It's so damn good. Kind of like Apocalypse Now, really well thought out and conceived and beautifully executed. We need more games like this, and it's sad that we're not going to get this. This will become a big open world thing with microtransactions now and hand-holding and up-the-ass tutorials, and it's too bad. Bulletstorm, I got the new version of this as well. A great, linear, very fun game. Still different branches and different pathways and options of how you want to play through the game. Kind of like this new Wolfenstein, which I watched, Carrot did a wonderful review early this morning with my coffee. I was so happy to see a review of that game. And he really did it justice. He points out the positives and the negatives, but overall, it's a solid, single-player, linear narrative. And it looks so exciting. It's just different paths, different options of upgrades and ways that you can play through the game, whether you're on these stilts or you have to be able to crash through walls. And I like that they give you options, kind of like an open world game, but within a pretty strict, strong narrative and a focused linear story. And yes, there's going to be cutscenes. Yes, you're going to have to sit there. I mean, people get irritated because they can't skip through cutscenes. To me, it's like, why would you want to do that? It's like watching your favorite movie. I have friends of mine that will watch movies and they'll just go to their favorite scenes in the movie, and that's all they watch over. And it's like, well, dude, that's nice. It's fun. I like those scenes too, but they're even better within the context of the entire film. Some people just don't get it. These James Bond games are wonderful linear stories, really good. They're so fun. Even Duke Nukem Forever, a great old school circle strafing FPS linear story. Wonderful. I don't see the problem with it. Rage, a masterpiece. Now this is kind of interesting. What you got with Rage, and you pretty much got the same thing with Wolfenstein, is you had kind of a semi-open world. There's like and they're going to have this with the new Wolfenstein, where the submarine is kind of like your open world hub, where you can go around and within that hub investigate and talk to people and check things out and do side quests and all that. But at the same time, once you decide to go through a doorway and accept a mission, then you're on a linear roller coaster Disneyland ride. Both of these games mastered that. So these are good examples that you can still have a linear story-based game, but make it where you have the option of playing it the way you want. You can upgrade your ammo and guns the way you like in this. You can with this too. They gave you a reason to go after the gold. Even in the old Return to Castle, with the exception of the Operation Resurrection PS2 version, which actually gave you reasons to get the gold that you can use for RPG elements to upgrade your health, armor, and weapons. They had the same dynamic in this. That's why these work so good for me. And these are, I mean, the top of my top, these are both in my top 10 FPS games of all time. I absolutely love these because it's a perfect mix of story, good writing, good atmosphere. They know what they're going after with the premise, and they pull it off via cutscenes, a congruent story, weapons, slow progression through the game where you unlock things and get upgrades. Singularity is another excellent example of this. Is with all its flaws, still a wonderful game. And whether you play this you can beat it in 8 hours or 12 hours or 20 hours, you can still return to it. You can try different strategies with different weapons. You can go play it more stealthy one way, and then the next time you play it at a harder level, or kick open the doors and go more of a run and gun style. Another wonderful single-player linear, actually there's 2 games in this one here on this Xbox 360 version. This is a masterpiece, a masterpiece. I mean, it's even better than the Vin Diesel movies. It's so good, it's so rich with atmosphere. I mean, you can really escape. The very nature of my Escape to Gaming show is escapism. That's what it's all about. Whether you think that's pathetic, whether you think that's something that should be, lauded, escapism to me is why I collect movies, books, and games, to escape the drudgery of doing hard physical labor all day. I come home and all I want to do is just watch my friends' YouTube videos and play video games. Lately it's been in that order because I've been been in a lot of pain to where it's been harder for me to play for much more than 45 minutes to an hour. Every night I play about 45 minutes to an hour of a video game. Lately it's been Xbox 360 games, and I go to bed because I just can't sink in the hours. I've actually been slowly building up a reservoir. I'm trying to heal my body up so I can marathon through this Wolfenstein game tomorrow and this weekend. I've actually taken today and tomorrow off, and I'm taking the weekend off, other than running some errands with my wife, so I can really sink through it. I want to give my early impressions of that game as soon as I can. I mean, there's already reviews out naturally, but I want to get my initial impressions out because I love the game and I want to help promote the game and Machine Games. I love the Syndicate game. A wonderful game, wonderful cyberpunk linear game. A great game. Now, even this game, it's a racing game, but the reason why I like this, is douchebaggy as the characters are in this, is it has a story. It has some QuickTime events in a couple minor areas. But it tells a kind of an interesting story. One guy that's got to, pay the mob back, and he needs to win this race to get the money, or they're going to, off the guy. And so it's like a high-stakes gamble, and it's an interesting story. Not the greatest, I mean, certainly, and the new Need for Speed Payback is going to be more of the same, more of a Fast and Furious story. I have friends of mine, Dean, I can't believe you're going to get that game. That game is garbage. It's trash, Well, yeah, the characters are not ideal for me. As someone at my age, I'm not, even in the Fast and Furious movies, I take with a grain of salt. I just like the fact that there's muscle cars in it, and I can drive my Dodge Challengers and my old, 55 Chevys, and it has a lot of old school and newer muscle cars in it. And so for that reason alone, I'm really excited about that game, and I want to get it. So, and I've got most of the games, and I have them here. These are all games I bought recently. I got the Wolfenstein games, this new Rogue Trooper, which I still want to play, hopefully get some playtime in this weekend. Battlefield 4, Doom, The Last of Us Remastered. You can see a pattern that I buy the games that are primarily single-player games in linear story-based games. That's why I buy these remasters. This I received as a gift last Christmas. This looks like a wonderful, fairly short, but a wonderful single-player narrative. But a lot of people look down at the game because it was too linear, and it's like as if it's a bad thing. I don't get it. Dishonored. I love the first Dishonored, which I played on the Xbox 360. I wanted to support the devs by buying this one, and believe me, when I get the money, I want to get Dishonored 2 and play it as well because I like the game. These I played on the Xbox 360, both of them. I had to buy them again because I want to support more of this. Now, supposedly the new one's going to be more of an open world game, and who knows, that could be interesting. we've already had a couple linear ones. Maybe they could do something interesting with an open world game. It could be the same thing. Once you go through a door, then it can be pretty much a linear path within that confines, which could be the case. I don't know. But, you know, Call of Duty, Ghost, Modern Warfare. I love this. I played through this twice. I actually really like this game. It's like the last decent Call of Duty game. I just couldn't get into all the sci-fi, wall jumping, and all that stuff. But I do like this one. And I'm dying to play this new one. I think this is going to be really cool to replay it with better graphics. It's an excellent single-player linear game. God forbid you say linear. One of the first 4 games I bought for my PS4, Killzone Shadowfall. I still haven't played it, but I've heard it's in a good story. Some people weren't thrilled with the story compared to the other ones, Killzone, you know, 1, 2, and 3, but it still looks really good to me. And believe me, the day will come where I'm going to look forward and sitting down and playing through this. So I made an investment in single-player games. Tomb Raider, I played through this all the way. This was one of my games of the year for 2013 or whatever it was. And I also had the new one thanks to a donation from one of my friends on Twitter. Dean, here's, you know, some money. Here's a gift card. Buy yourself a game. So I bought the new Rise of the Tomb Raider, the definitive edition. It's digitally downloaded. I'd like to get the physical copy, but for now I'm just happy to have it. And I want to go through and play that one as well because I love this game. Very linear, but it tells, and even though it's a female protagonist, it tells a solid story. And it's a nice, realistic Lara Croft. They didn't have, you know, a giant, you know, 44 double D chest. It was more about a woman going through this, you know, these adventures and this plight and trying to make do and survive. And I like that aspect of it. That's why it was so appealing to me, and I enjoyed the environments. I loved exploring and finding every collectible and just scouring every nook and cranny in the game because it was so good. I want more of these games. I played the BioShock Infinite. It's the only one I played on the 360. And I was happy to get all of these because it represents a milestone in single-player linear storytelling that we need more of. You got to wonder how many more of these kind of games we're going to get. I wouldn't be surprised the next BioShock is more of an open world thing, you know? Who knows? This, I still want to play this. And I've watched an entire playthrough of this, and then part of another friend's walkthrough of it as well, including all the DLC. So I've actually enjoyed this. I kind of like being more removed and seeing it through someone else's eyes, because it takes the heart attack factor down quite a bit. And even watching the walkthrough of this was quite intense. It's a wonderful game. This is finally, they did Aliens right. Finally, they got the environments, the set piece moments, the sound design, the visuals perfect. It's a great game. And that's why I bought it. Even though I knew it would be too intense for me, I said, I want to support this. Because the Aliens Colonial Marines wasn't received well. And even that, I enjoyed as a linear, single-player game. It works for me. I don't have an issue with it. Good games. I played Batman or Arkham Origins. Never played the other ones. I've started to play Batman Arkham Asylum. I'm several levels into this. An outstanding game. I see why it was their game of the year way back in the day. Wonderful games. You have to wonder. And then I guess the new Arkham Knight, which I have digitally downloaded as well. I started playing that one because I like the Batmobile and everything in it. But it's much more open worldish. It's kind of, again, they're getting away from the linear. You can see the pattern that we're going to get much more of this from here on out. I think that this new Shadow of Mordor, or the new, whatever it's called, the Shadow of Mordor sequel, I don't even know what, I can't remember what it's called. It's trying to do too many things. It's like a visual bombardment. I watched quite a bit of gameplay of it, and it's like overwhelming. It's like sensory overload, and it's like my mind just shuts down when I see that. And it's not, for me, it's not appealing. Even Arkham Knight, when I started playing it, it almost represented, I didn't know where to begin. I didn't know what to do or where to go. It's kind of hard, even though you can follow the cursor and go to your next objective, and you can technically go through the story that way. There's so many distractions. And, you know, I think that's where they're giving people their, quote, values. They're trying to give you, okay, here's 60 to 100 hours here, you know. And then you can get more skins and more DLC and more missions and Riddler challenges and all that stuff. This, I want to play all of these in the series. I recently got the first one for the PlayStation 2. And I'm excited. I want to support this game. Now, I think initially they had some weird microtransaction things in this as well. for like a one-time playthrough. Then if you went through it again, you lost them supposedly. But still, it's a beautiful looking game for something in the cyberpunk type universe. It works, and that's why I wanted to support the game. I want to play the last one on the Xbox 360 as well. Battlefield 1, I've played a few missions, like 3 missions into this. It looks gorgeous. Now again, it's kind of streamlined. It's like it feels rushed. It feels like it could have been. It has a lot of potential. Great characters, really nice set piece moments, and certainly beautiful cutscenes and everything. But it's just like they gave you a little taste of each of the multiplayer maps and try to stitch it all together. Okay, here's your goddamn single player, and throw it down there. And that's just the feeling that I get with a lot of the Battlefield games in particular. Call of Duty seem like their campaigns are a little bit more of a roller coaster, more polished overall, but I do love the Battlefield game. They're not real big on World War I, but I like this. Even the flying levels have been kind of dumbed down in the single player, where they're much more robust in the multiplayer. And it's just sad that single player tends to take a back seat in these games now. A lot of people don't even touch the single player, which is kind of sad. And of course, Uncharted 4, which many think is one of the last really good linear single player narrative-based games that we have today. And certainly we maybe we'll get more of these. I don't know, this may be the final one. But I love these games, and I bought the other one too. I've got the one, I don't know where it is somewhere, but I've got the new, the one that has all of the old, Uncharted games in one. Oh, here it is, the Uncharted collection. I got this as well because I love this remastered that they take and especially refine some of the controls and mechanics in it, so you can go back with much better visuals on a brand new gen system and enjoy all 3 of these games all over again. I love supporting this stuff. I bought this twice. I bought one and gave it with my midnight launch PS4 to my friend Clint, and then I bought myself another one of these recently because I love this game, and I love the dev, and I want to support all of these Uncharted games. They're so good. There's so much to gaming that we can choose from, and thank God we have the abilities to play these games. We can choose whether or not we want to buy an older game that's remastered. We can choose whether or not we want to. Some people will avoid this because, yeah, I don't know, it doesn't do it for me. I want a multiplayer. I want multiplayer in my games. I saw someone did like a clickbait video recently. I haven't watched it, but complaining that there's no multiplayer in this, and it's like, okay, and what's your point? Look, you guys have tons of multiplayer games. Let us have a couple games for us where the focus is primarily single-player gaming. Uncharted did that too. I mean, they've got really good single-player stories. It's really about single-player, but at least they have a multiplayer dynamic, and I think The Last of Us did too. Again, I wouldn't know because I never touched those kind of deals, but to me, that's what this little rant was about, is I want to uphold and promote the linear single-player games, and I think if we take the time to buy those and invest in those experiences, we'll see more of them. I'm really afraid we're in the last days of these linear-based games. I think we're not going to see a whole lot of these from here on out. It's just a feeling. It's just a feeling. And what happened with the new Star Wars game, the way they're trying to sweep that under the rug, and, oh, the game wasn't very good, that's why we had to take an axe to it. I don't buy it. They had very talented people and very talented heads in the development teams running that game and making that game. I have a hard time swallowing that, but whatever. There's lots of spin with social media. We'll never really know what's really going on behind the scenes. Usually years later, someone will come forward and talk about the development woes or hassles. That Game Informer, inside article I read on LucasArts was tragic, but it was nice to hear it through the perspective of people that worked at LucasArts and worked on those games and what was happening. And it's sad. I hate to see people losing their jobs, and I hate to see these wonderful single-player linear stories going the way of the dodo, which is really tragic to me. So, thanks for watching, guys. This is just a quick video. I'm going to be getting my new collector's edition tomorrow at 10 a.m. when they open. I'm going to be driving down there. I haven't done a driving vlog in a while. I don't know if I'll have my new camera mount yet, but if I have to, I'll carry the camera as I'm driving. And I just want to do a video of me driving down, picking the game up, doing an unboxing, and then my initial impressions of the new Wolfenstein Colossus 2, because I'm very excited. it's going to be my game of the year for 2017. I'm pretty convinced of it. So, and I've been slowly building up my back and trying to build my stamina up to where I can sit and play hours of it. Even if I have to double down on my pain pills, I've actually stockpiled some extra pain pills aside for this weekend so I can double up on them to try to get through it. If it kills me, I'm going to play this game and enjoy it. That's why I kind of even like the BJ character, because he starts off, you know, incapacitated in a wheelchair, and I can really identify with that beat up, thrashed over the hill character. But yet he kicks ass anyway and does his best against Nazism and fascism in that game. A fascinating concept, wonderful premise, fantastic characters, a carryover from the last one. I'm very excited, and eventually I will be reviewing that game, hopefully with better production values this time. So thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful weekend, and for the love of God, pick up that new Wolfenstein game if you have any love for good quality linear story-based games. Give it a chance and buy it as close to day one as you can. Let's support these devs making the games that we love. Thanks again, guys.